Good morning, Anthem, and welcome to chapel. I hope that your first week back last week was a good one, and we are into 2021, and we're excited about what's to come. So as we start today, I actually want to look back again at last year, at the last month, December. We're going to be talking about Student of the Month. So if you are the Student of the Month, congratulations. If they're in class with you, give them a pat on the back or a hand clap. Let's get into it. All right. In kindergarten, Mason Tactall for showing kindness and respect to his peers. In first grade, Reagan Panziera for her perseverance and great class participation. In second grade, Michael Lamb for striving to do his best in everything and for his prayerful attitude. In third grade, Noah Tactall for his integrity, trying to do what is right even when it is not easy. And if you notice there, Noah and Mason are brothers and they both got Student of the Month. Congratulations, guys. In fourth grade, Riley Balbalon for her flexibility and perseverance. In fifth grade, Kiana Allman for working diligently until all her work is done. In sixth grade, Sophia Medrano for her improvement in her academics and always having a positive attitude. And in junior high, we have two, Jeremy Francisco for improving his effort and his grades, and Esther Hahn for her amazing grades and her helpful heart. Again, congratulations to all of you, the students of the month for December. For January, everybody work hard, and maybe you just might be the January student of the month. We're going to get into worship here, and we'll see you in just a minute.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. And you are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Oh, you are here, turning lives around. are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Yeah, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 'Cause that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Yeah. Oh, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. And that is who you are. That is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Always you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
Well, today, since last week, I talked for a long time, and that was a long message to kick off our year. I'm really going to try to keep it shorter today, all right? So here we go. Today, I want to talk about something that we're going to be talking about over the next coming weeks here. We're going to be looking at Bible characters. Now, these characters are found all through the Bible, and I want us to look at their lives, and I want us to learn something that we can apply to our lives. We are given these stories in the Bible as often as examples of how we should live our lives. We see these characters doing amazing things. We also see some characters doing not so great things, and they're a picture of how we maybe should not live our lives. Today, I'm going to start off with one of my favorites in the Bible, King David. King David was the king of the Israelites, and he wrote the book of Psalms, so you might be familiar with that. It's a big, long book, like right in the middle of the Bible. All these songs and prayers and all this rich poetry. He wrote all that, or most of it at least, a lot of it. And King David is actually the same David that defeated Goliath. He was a shepherd. He was just a normal guy, and he was chosen to be king. Now, David was king after King Saul. The Israelites, we're in the Old Testament here, right? This is before Jesus. The Israelites had a king. His name was Saul. And Saul was good for a while, but he kind of strayed off the path that God wanted him to go on. And so he actually brought up David to be the next king. And I find this interesting. Way later in the Bible, in the book of Acts, in chapter 13, this is what they say about David. Okay, it says, after God moved Saul aside, remember Saul was the king. After God moved him aside, He made David king in his place. God had this to say about David: I have found David, son of Jesse, to be a man after my own heart. He's the kind of king who will rule in ways that please me. Now that is crazy to have God say this about you, that you are a person after his own heart. That's amazing. So we look at King David, and we look at his life, and we ask ourselves, what made David a person that was after God's own heart? What did he do to kind of get that recognition or that statement made about him? It's pretty crazy. What's interesting is if you look at David's life, he made a lot of mistakes. And some of the mistakes he made were huge mistakes, like really bad stuff. And so when you look at that, and you look at then this statement of he was a man after God's own heart, what does that mean for us? What it means is that just like we talked about last week, you had this guy Paul, who before in his previous life persecuted Christians and was really down on them. God gave him a new chance, and he all of a sudden became one of the main writers of the New Testament. God gives people like you and like me who do really bad stuff sometimes, who make mistakes. He gives us another chance, and he doesn't hold it against us. When we come to him, we ask for forgiveness, we recognize our wrong, and when we come to him, he gives us another chance, and we can still do amazing things and be called people who follow after God's heart. So that's an encouraging thing to us. David was humble. He didn't go around thinking really highly of himself and talking really great about himself and trying to just kind of boost his own ego. He didn't do that. He was humble. He ruled the best that he could. He did the best that he could for the nation of Israel, and he was a good king. A good king. And that's interesting because in another book in the New Testament or Old Testament, there is a whole list of kings, and it says this was such and such king, and he was a good king. And then this guy was king, and he was a bad king. And there's a whole big list of bad kings. But David, he was a good king. And so that's a challenge for you and I to be good people, right? When we are on some list, right? There won't be a list, but if there was a list of us, all our names, would it say, Mr. Ryan, he was a bad person? Or would it say, Mr. Ryan, he was a good person? Does a good person mean that I don't make mistakes or that I'm perfect? No, that's impossible for all of us. But we can strive to live our lives following God's laws and striving to do his will. David was repentant. David, as I mentioned, did a lot of bad stuff. Even while he was king, he made some really big mistakes. And you and I will make big mistakes. But David showed us that he could be repentant. When he was confronted about those mistakes, he admitted to those mistakes. And so a good king is humble. A good king admits to when they make a mistake. And finally, he strove to do the right thing. David had a heart for his people, the Israelites, and he strove always to do the right thing and to lead them in a way that would honor God and that would benefit them as a nation. And so these are the ways that we can apply that to our own lives. Right? We can admit when we make mistakes. We don't have to deny that we messed up. We can admit when we make a mistake, and we can walk humbly each day. We don't have to talk like really good about ourselves and try to make ourselves seem like the best person ever, and we get all, have like an attitude because we think we're better than other people. That's not being Christ-like. That is not doing what God would have us do. We are to be humble and serve others and just walk humbly each and every day through this life. And we are to always try to follow God's ways. We can do that in big things, and we can do that in little things. When we're just kind to our neighbor, your classmate, when you listen the first time to your parents or to your teacher, obedience, even in little things, they're following in the path that God has set before us. So I want us to think this week about King David. And I want us to think about two things. I want us to think about, one, we don't have to be perfect. We'll all mess up, and that's okay. The point is we have to own up to those mistakes. We have to recognize them and try to do better the next time. And two, always walk humbly. Always just try to strive for what God would have us do. Be kind to your neighbor. Don't talk bad about your friends or your classmates. Be somebody, a friend, a brother, a son, a daughter that you would want in your life. Right? You wouldn't want your friends talking bad about you, so don't talk bad about other people. You wouldn't want your friends or your parents disobeying you, so don't disobey others. Just walk humbly, follow God's ways. I think King David does a really good job of showing us this balance of following God, but also owning up to mistakes when you make them. So that's it for today. I want us to, again, over the coming weeks, look at some different characters throughout the Bible, and we're going to look at just a little bit of their lives, and we're going to see how their experiences can inform our lives and help us live better lives as we try to follow Christ. Have a great day. Bye-bye.